second. Slash, guitar player Slash, from the band Guns N' Roses. He says that he doesn't even own a copy of Appetite for Destruction. The Guns N' Roses album, Appetite for Destruction. The one that has sold like a bajillion copies, and he doesn't even own one. Are you kidding me? Hey guys, welcome back to the Bald Shredder channel. So, the other day, I was looking at Blabbermouth, and I saw this story on Blabbermouth, and the headline is what caught my eye. This is what the headline says. Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash. I don't think I've ever owned the Appetite for Destruction record. So of course that got me to click on the story because I'm thinking, how could you not own that record? I mean, you're on it. How can you not own it? So I had to read the rest of the story. Let's check it out. Well, you have to understand, I mean, it's like this for all the records I do. I don't collect any of it. If you were to come to my house, you'd be hard pressed to know I was in a band, or at least any band you had heard of. I mean, there's instruments around, but I don't have any like souvenirs or anything special from the releases over the years. I don't think I've ever owned the Appetite for Destruction record. And even if I did, I didn't live anywhere, so I wouldn't have any place to put it. Granted, I did have a lot of records I've kept, but I just never was one to sort of really collect records of the bands that I'm actually in. Does that make sense? He continued. I mean, you make a record, you go through this whole process of creating the music and working on it with the guys and developing it. Then you go into the studio and you record it. Then you go in and mix it. And then the final process is mastering. And once that's done, it's off to be released. You've moved on. You know what I mean? It's like you've gone through everything you need to on that material, and the only thing you have to look forward to at that point is going out and performing it. And so, I don't really get in my car and listen to it 8 million times when you're mixing and mastering. Yeah, you play it every night, so the material's always there, and it's exciting if you hear it on the radio or something, but I don't listen to it otherwise. And then there's, and other musicians can attest to this. If you put on music in general, you kind of get sucked into it. But if it's your own material, it's like if you're at a gathering or something, and they were to put your record on, it's sort of funny. You don't really want to walk in somewhere and they're playing it. Okay, yeah, I can see his point. Yeah, I think I get it now. I mean, at first glance, it seems like, well, that's kind of crazy. How can he say he's never owned a copy? But after hearing his explanation, it kind of makes more sense. And yeah, I absolutely believe him. He would have no reason to lie and make that story up. It wouldn't make any sense if he did. He just doesn't have a copy. And if he wants to hear those songs, it's so easy to hear them on the internet, on Spotify streaming, YouTube. They're everywhere anyway. But he kind of does make it sound like if you went to his house, you wouldn't see like a whole lot of evidence that he's like a guitar player in a famous band. You know, there's some guys like Gene Simmons from Kiss. You go to his house, you can't even turn around, you can't even go into a different room without bumping into something that reminds you of Kiss. He's got an entire wing in his house devoted to like Kiss collectibles and platinum awards and gold records and all that. And maybe Slash is just like not that kind of guy, you know? He doesn't need to look at the stuff that he's achieved. He doesn't need platinum records on the wall. He doesn't need awards. And that's totally cool. And here's a little side note, guys. Another reason why I can kind of understand where Slash is coming from and what he's saying. 26 years ago, I put out my first CD, Richard James Reflections. Look, I even had long hair at the time. This came out in 1996, so 26 years ago, right? Well, this past weekend, my brother came to visit me, and if there's any like huge fan of this album, Reflections, it's my brother. He continues to listen to it like on a regular basis. I think it's in his car in the CD player right now. So when he was here on the weekend, he's talking about Reflections. He's talking about the album. Even though I've put out other albums since then, this is the one he always wants to talk about. And he made me put the CD on and play some of the tracks. He's like, hey, play that one song. I want to ask you about the very last note in that song. So I started playing some of the songs from the CD, and I'm going, I don't remember playing that riff. What was that lyric? I wrote that? That was kind of cheesy. And that's because even though this is my album, I literally haven't listened to it in at least 15 years. Just like Slash said in that article, you work on music, you write it, you record it, you get it all mixed and produced and it's done, and then you kind of move on. Like, you want to move on to new stuff. So even though, yeah, I'm proud of this, I did it 26 years ago, as soon as I was done with it, I was immediately writing new songs, more new stuff, and it's just a continual cycle of writing new stuff, recording new stuff, and you don't really go back. You don't spend a lot of time going back and listening to the stuff you've already done. So I can totally understand Slash's point of view, although I think it's still a little bit strange that he doesn't even have a copy of it, but hey, that's cool with me. What about you guys? Do you have an album that's like, man, I love that album, that's like one of my favorite albums, and then when you think about it, you go, I haven't listened to it in like 20 years though, but it's still one of my favorites. You got any albums like that? Let me know in the comments. All right guys, see you next time.